Are VIP days the best kept secret your agency needs? If you've ever had prospects say, I want to work with you, but I'm not ready for a full retainer, this episode is for you. VIP days offer a high impact way to deliver results quickly without long-term commitment. But are they the right fit for your agency? In this episode, I sit down with Melissa Mitchell of Wonderment Creative, who has cracked the code on integrating VIP days into her agency. She shares the real benefits, unexpected challenges, and the lessons she's learned, including why she evolved from VIP days to VIP weeks for even greater impact. If you're looking for new ways to package your expertise, create an irresistible offer, and increase your agency's revenue without adding more complexity, you won't want to miss this. Tune in today. Welcome to the Small But Mighty Agency podcast. If you want to grow an agency to 7 figures and beyond without working more hours in your business, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Audrey Joy Kwan. I know what it takes to build an agency, including supporting an agency owner in selling and exiting. I also have a master's degree in communications, specializing in organizational development. My team and I have worked behind the scenes of multiple 7-figure agencies and have coached and consulted with over 150 agency owners. All this to say, when you join us on the Small But Mighty Agency podcast, you get real world experience and practical tips that help you work less, earn more, and lead with integrity. So let's go. Hey friends, welcome back to the Small But Mighty Agency podcast, where we take the time to explore ideas and strategies to help agency owners grow sustainably. Today's episode is all about VIP days, a service model that's gaining popularity for its ability to deliver high impact results in a short amount of time. So we're tackling the big question, are VIP days as a service the right fit for your agency? Joining me is Melissa Mitchell, the owner of Wonderment Creative, a YouTube video marketing and video coaching agency. Melissa specializes in helping online service providers scale their business using YouTube to fuel their sales funnel with the best fit leads. Her approach is all about creating simple, repeatable, and scalable systems that make video content creation and lead generation effortless. Melissa has integrated VIP days into her agency and is here to share her insights and tips for agencies. So whether you're new to the concept of VIP days, or maybe you're considering adding them to your agency services, or maybe you're already offering them and looking to refine your approach, we're going to get into the no fluff good stuff. Melissa, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about today's chat.
Okay, so let's get right into it. For those who are unfamiliar with what a VIP day is, can you explain the concept and really how does it work in an agency setting?
Yeah, for sure. So basically a VIP day is a concept where if someone's not quite ready to hire your agency on a month-to-month basis, or maybe you have really large containers, but you find that there's people who they say they want to work with you, but they're just not quite ready for that higher level kind of commitment, a VIP day can be a really great place to put that in. And that's actually why I added it to my service list as well. It's basically a day where they get your time for that specific day. And there are many different ways that you can kind of create this depending on your workflow and your services and things like that. And when I first created my VIP day, what I did is it was a full day of dedicated time with me. So they booked a slot on my calendar. They would get a form ahead of time for them to fill out so that I understood where they were at in their business, where they were at when it came to YouTube and video. And then during that beginning of that day, we would jump on a Zoom call and we would talk about what they filled out in the form, what kind of strategy they needed to implement depending on where they were at in their business. And then for the rest of that day, they would have uninterrupted time from myself and the rest of my agency to fulfill on whatever it is they needed. So for me, sometimes that was creating their YouTube strategy from scratch. Sometimes that was doing their full keyword research for 3 months of content. Sometimes that was editing 12 videos for them. It just depended on kind of where they were at, but it's really a dedicated 8-hour time block that they get of me and my agency.
Can we jump into why you created the VIP day inside your agency? What problem were you trying to solve for yourself or for your clients?
Yeah, great question. So basically, I was in what I was talking about before is I have the coaching side of my business and then I have the agency side. And the agency side really is a month-to-month service, a recurring kind of service where you come to me and I manage your monthly YouTube and we edit your videos and everything like that. But with that comes a little bit of a higher container price point, right? And a higher investment. And so I had a lot of people say, I just need someone to help me out with my YouTube strategy, or I just need someone to help me with the keyword research. And so I was like, what kind of container can I create that's going to help people where they are? That's not coaching, because that's not really what they needed, but it's not that month to month management. And so that's where the VIP day kind of was birthed from.
It sounds like a bite-sized way to work with you to get a taste of what you do so that they can think about jumping into a longer term retainer. Now, as someone who has been in the agency space for a very long time, we all know that MRR, monthly recurring revenue, is where it's at. And so the VIP day, to clarify, wasn't to replace the retainer. It was more of the product ladder. So you were putting something in front of your product ladder so that it could easily lead someone to consider that retainer.
Yes, 100%. And lots of times it would do that, right? It almost, like you said, added kind of that sneak peek of what it was like to work with us. And then they would go off, they would take all that information and execute it. And then lots of times, 3 months later, a month later, 6 months later, whatever, they'd come back and either want to do another VIP day, or they'd say, what is it like to work with you on a monthly basis? So it's a really great teaser into the kind of service that you actually give to your clients.
Now, here's another take. It sounds like there might have been a couple of things people were asking you for that didn't make sense to put into a retainer. And so you did not want to do those things for free, which meant that there was an opportunity to also place that into a VIP day. Would you say that's a correct way of looking at it, or am I overreaching?
No, definitely. Yeah. I think it's definitely like strategy, right? Is something that we would do at the beginning if you were working with me on a recurring basis, a monthly recurring basis. But sometimes people are like, you know what, I just need the strategy and then my team can implement. And so, yeah, 100%, it wouldn't be something that would be a monthly thing. And so the VIP day would be a perfect fit for that.
Yeah, and in situations where people come into a sales call and they really want that full roadmap and they're asking you, well, what is the roadmap? You don't want to be the person on the call giving them those things for free. The next step would be, hey, we have a VIP day that answers that question. Let's start there, which is, incredibly smart to package it in that way. Okay, what are some key indicators that an agency might benefit from offering VIP days? In other words, what's the struggle that you had before you put in VIP days?
Yeah, I think that anytime you're on sales calls, like you said, and you have people asking you questions, but when you bring up your monthly retainers, they're like, oh no, that's a little bit maybe outside my price point, or maybe they have an internal team already that's handling some of that stuff already. That's happened to me before. And they just want a consultant or a strategy expert in your field to come in and just show them the ropes kind of thing. If that's happening to you on sales calls, that's a really good indicator that maybe something like this would work really well. That's what happened to me. And I was like, okay, why don't I just do this? It actually was birthed from a sales call where on the fly, I was like, well, why don't we just sit down and do your strategy for a day? And then I was talking to one of my coaches and she was like, well, that's a VIP day. Why don't we just start implementing that in your offer suite? So that's where that was born. It was just out of necessity from a sales call. So that could happen to you as well.
It almost sounds like they get to hire a CMO, in this case, a fractional chief marketing officer in the video space for a day, right? So it seems like a VIP day offer that would solve a core problem for a lot of businesses that want to get into that video space, but maybe uncertain and just need that taste and want someone super high level to come in and sort the things out for them in one quick go. And so I think of it kind of like as a CMO for video in your business for a day, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Now, what challenges did you anticipate before you introduced the VIP day? Not after, but before. Like, what are some things that you had to think through before you implemented the VIP day?
Yeah, great question. So a couple of things, right, is Onboarding your clients, especially, I mean, as agency owners, we all know this is very important, giving them that like high level service right from the moment they sign their contract or the moment they give you payment, right? And so when it comes to monthly recurring clients and containers, your onboarding looks a little bit different than one day. And so that was definitely something that I had to think through of like, how can I get as much information from the client as possible in a really short period of time so that I can look it over and it's not taking a lot of their time to fill out and it's not taking a lot of my team's time to fill out, because from a like logistics to standpoint, we want to make sure this is profitable for us as agency owners as well, so that we're not taking a lot of time reviewing things before we jump on this one day kind of call. So that definitely was a little bit of a pain point of just figuring out what kind of information do I need. There was definitely some tweaks there that had to happen.
It sounds like you had to introduce boundaries, because a retainer type of business looks very different than a VIP day type of business. A VIP day is basically one and done, so to speak. And so if a client doesn't understand the boundaries of that VIP day, they're scope creeping like mad.
For me, when a client has an onboarding, I actually have a video, shocker, I know, as the video person, where when they book their call with me, their first call for that VIP day, they actually get a video of me explaining what's going to happen. So I say, welcome to the family. This is how your VIP day is going to go down. You get access to me from XYZ to XYZ time. You have 7 days of questions after your VIP day is complete for any changes. So I really lay out the lay of the land, if you will, in a video and then also an email, and it's also in their contract. So I think communication is definitely the name of the game when it comes to anything you do in an agency, for sure.
I love what you shared there, that tip of introducing video or content that is scalable to the VIP day, because you're not now jumping on calls and explaining to every single client what to expect. Once someone buys the VIP day, it's automated. You flip a video over, the understanding is established. And of course, there's the contract, and we all have contracts. We all know we need contracts in the agency space. But, someone can read a contract and you think that they understand it, but we've all experienced it where clients have read contract and they forget the second they read it or the day after they read it. And so I think that reinforcement of video or content on what a VIP day is super helpful. I also think that in online space, for some of us, the concept of that VIP day is very familiar, but that's because we're on the online space. Not everyone understands this concept of a VIP day yet. And it's just really important to make sure that while you may understand it, the person you're working with may not. And so establishing that content and those boundaries and whatever it is you need to make sure a client understands, it's really important to making sure that VIP day is a success.
Yeah, 100%. To your point, actually, it's funny. I have to tell a quick little story. I have a client who's in the construction space, and they first hired me for a VIP day. And that was his exact words for me. He's like, I'm not from the online space. And he's like, that video was so informative. That was so great. He's like, I actually need something like that in my business. So we have to think as agency owners, we're not always having clients, especially depending on what niche you serve, that are online. And so having that communication is so clear. And to be honest, sometimes they're like, hey, can you set that up for me? Because I'd love something like this.
Thanks for highlighting that. It's so easy for us as marketers and people on the online space to think everyone knows about something, and you introduce it and they're like, well, what is this? And you kind of leave them in the dust if you don't support them through the process. So I love that. And yeah, I hear you on providing your clients what they need in order to better automate their processes. I think what you're pointing out is, hey, video in itself as a tool is marketing relevant, but automation relevant, systems and process relevant. Hey, I'm all for that. It's just as important. Now, going back to this conversation about VIP days, and I think what we're really addressing is like structuring the VIP day. I think there's internal structure, which is that onboarding piece, and then there's what do you do in a VIP day to ensure that you meet the promise and it provides the value. So I guess a better way of putting it is, how do you go about structuring your VIP day so that it offers the promise that you have given the client?
Yeah, so this is a great question because I've actually pivoted a little bit, and I'll talk about that in a second here. But when I was doing the VIP days, is we would meet on that original Zoom call. And at that time, I would go over what they filled out in the form, and we would kind of lay out what was going to be accomplished for the rest of the day, depending on where they were at. And we would agree upon the deliverables, if you will. And then we'd go on and we'd complete the deliverables for them. So the beauty of that is that it's only an hour of their time really at the beginning of the day. And then by the end of the day or the next day, they would have all the deliverables handed over to them in like a beautiful little package. And so really, to make sure that they got the value out of that call was really understanding in that initial Zoom call what they wanted out of that day. And so I would make a list of all the deliverables, and I would say, you have 8 hours of our time. We will try to get through as much of this list as humanly possible in that 8-hour time block. So that was great. And it was really great for the client as well, because they got a lot of deliverables at the end. But I did see just recently that was creating also a little bit of problems for my team as well as for the client, because sometimes the client didn't necessarily know what deliverables they wanted, especially when they were first starting out in the space of YouTube and video. Sometimes they would say, well, I think I need a strategy, or maybe I need keyword research, or maybe I need this. And they weren't sure, or they needed too many things. And it ended up being this really long list that I understand as the expert isn't possible to be completed in an 8-hour time block. But as the client, sometimes, when you don't understand the strategy behind something, you think that it can be completed. And so there was a little bit of miscommunication there in terms of what actually could be completed in that day. And so because of that, I thought to myself, how can I still deliver this same sort of concept, but give them more from it and actually make it easier on my team to deliver? And so that's where I decided to do the VIP week instead. And so this is a really good lesson in that, it doesn't necessarily have to be a day. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly what we're laying out in this call. You can make it fit however your business structure is. I'm a big believer of we shouldn't be put in a box, and that we can do what we want to do in business, and we're the CEOs, and that's the fun part.
I love this idea that a VIP day doesn't have to be a day. It could be a week, or it could be structured in whatever way allows you to get the client the results that you've promised them. And so, I want to hear more about this VIP week.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about the client results, right? And so if you feel at the end of the day, your clients feel like they're not getting everything out of it, how can we change it? How can we make it better? How can we tweak it? And so now I've changed it to a week, which gives us a little bit more breathing room as we scale as an agency as well, because we're not having to deliver deliverables in a 48-hour period, a 24 to 48-hour period. So we actually have a week to complete it. And the beauty of this is that every day, the way I've structured it, every day we concentrate on something different. And they actually have a set of deliverables that are promised at the end of the week. And so what it is we actually do their messaging call, we do their keyword research, we do a competitor analysis for them, we give them all their video outlines, their thumbnails, and then deliver it all into a beautifully kind of package content calendar for them to know exactly what days to post each video. And the way it's broken down is they get 3 months of content. So 3 months of YouTube video content in 1 week, which is a really kind of sexy pitch, if you will. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
So far, we literally just did this and tweaked this right before Black Friday. So it's brand new, and I'm really excited to see how it's kind of received by the market.
I just love the growth of your VIP day to VIP weeks. I think the VIP day offered you learnings, and from those learnings, you were able to reiterate into something that not only gives the clients what they need, but also guides them through the process more. Because in the VIP day, what you were doing was very honoring to the client, asking them to give you the ideas of what they want to accomplish. But in doing that, they also had blind spots. And so with the VIP week, you cover the blind spots. You're like, okay, these are the things you need, but obviously we can't do that in 8 hours, and we're going to do that over a week. And here's the beauty of that VIP week you mentioned. It gives your team breathing room to actually go ahead and deliver the goods. I'm so excited to hear this conversation go from a VIP day to a VIP week. Now, I want to ask a pricing question.
Yeah, of course.
I think there's 2 questions here. The first question is, how did you price your VIP day? And then now that you've gone to VIP week, has that changed?
So it hasn't changed too much. Really what's changed is the VIP day was $2,997, and that would give them the full day of me and then also 30 days of access to me after the call was complete to ask questions. And the 30 days in my mind seemed like such a great give to the client, but in reality a lot of clients didn't use it. Unfortunately, like they would just take the deliverables and maybe they would ask a couple questions the next couple days, but they would just kind of run with it. And my hope with those 30 days was that I could like really coach them through it and like help them, but it wasn't serving the client clearly, right? Like they weren't utilizing it. And so instead of the pricing there, I put the pricing into more deliverables on the front end. And so now the cost is $3,200 for the 3 months of video strategy and content done in a week. And you only get 7 days of access to me at the end for questions. So just a little bit of a tweak there, but more deliverables and I think more value to the client at the end of the day because I'm telling you, this is what you kind of need and kind of going from there.
We often think that when we give clients more time, that's the thing that they want. Like your VIP days is a demonstration of that, right? So, if I give the client 30 days, it's going to be so much value because they're going to use the days. And then, your finding was very much the opposite. They didn't use the 30 days. And so collapsing it down to a 1 week VIP week actually provided more value. I have to highlight that because I think as business owners, as agency owners, sometimes we think that the more time we give to our clients, the better, but it's not the case. Now, I have another pricing question to ask you. What factors did you include or influenced how you priced your VIP week offer?
So I actually structure it in terms of what I'm going to be personally doing as the strategist and then what my team will be doing. And that also, when I say team, I also mean like eventual hires. Like I'm in scaling mode in my agency this year and moving into 2025. So I really mapped out like what positions can fill all of these different spots as I execute this and scale it so that I know like, okay, I need this role here. I need an editor here. I need this person here. And I price that accordingly so that my pricing can grow with me instead of pricing it really low and me doing all the work. And then when I go to hire, I'm no longer profitable. So I think that's a really important thing for all the agencies listening to this is that, sometimes it can feel easier to just be like, well, I'll do everything and I'll keep the price low. But then that actually kind of hurts you in the end because you can't scale.
Thank you for sharing that. I think those are key things to consider when you package and price it. Now, when you introduce VIP days into your business, what was your client response to that? What I mean is you have current clients, and when you introduced the VIP day, did that impact how they wanted to work with you?
Yeah, not so much. Not on the agency side, I would say, because at that time when I introduced them, I had only had MRR, monthly recurring revenue clients. And so they were at a different level. Like they wanted me because they wanted me to come into their business monthly and manage everything. So they were like, that's cool. That's awesome. Like, but they were at a different spot. And that wasn't why I created the VIP day in the first place. So it made sense. But on the coaching side, it definitely did because there was a lot of people, like I said, who I had talked to or had come into my world, were on my email list. I was talking to in the DMs who said to me, I don't have time to do a passive course or be part of a, live coaching program or anything like that. They're like, I just want someone to tell me what to do. I just want the roadmap, they kept saying, right? I know I want to be on YouTube, but I don't know how. And so those people it definitely affected because I went back to them and said, hey, now I have this VIP day where I can come in and I can do that XYZ for you. And a lot of them are like, heck yes, that's exactly what I need. And we would go into it. So,
okay, so good. I think I wanted to really clarify to our audience what the impact of the VIP day could be on the business. And I love how you've highlighted in terms of MRR, the clients who were retained and using your agency services, there wasn't much, I would say, movement from the retainment to the VIP days because the MR clients saw a different value. Where the big change happened were your coaching clients who felt that, maybe rather than doing consistent coaching, they just want it done for you and they would choose to do VIP days instead. It's a great understanding of where the VIP day can affect the business. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Now, how has the VIP week or day affected the profitability of your business and your day-to-day workflows?
Yeah, profitability for sure, because it filled those gaps, right? It filled those holes of the people in the customer journey who were I wasn't fulfilling on at that moment in time. So definitely helped the profitability. And then in terms of deliverables, like I said, at the beginning, I did have that kind of struggle period or learning period where I was trying to figure out like, how do I do these deliverables? How do I get the information? But once I put the system in place, it was a lot easier and it flowed quite well. It just became that, I only had so many slots in my calendar every single month for these VIP days, because it did mean that my attention was being diverted for that entire 8 hours. So my other retainer clients, I had to make sure were still taken care of on different days. So it did mean like a structuring workflow, and I couldn't take, 10 VIP clients a month. It meant kind of figuring out what that sweet spot was. And now that it's the VIP week, it gives me a little bit more flow, because I don't have to have that dedicated time for 8 hours. I can spread it out across 7 days. And that just gives me more breathing room to make sure that I can plug different team members in and make sure that everything gets done without feeling like I'm pressured to one day.
As a small agency, one of the things that happens when we introduce new services is you, the agency owner, has to get right in there. You get your hands dirty. And so with the VIP day, VIP week now, that's exactly what's happening. You have to jump in and get your hands dirty to figure out all the things. And when you do that, of course, it's going to take time and attention away from other things. And I think that's something to really consider as an agency owner. We're entrepreneurs, and as entrepreneurs, we always want to add new things into our business. And we kind of forget, or we know but choose not to know, that when we add things into our business, it takes more time, it takes more energy. So I like how you highlighted you had to be really conscious of blocking out the times in your calendar, and that took you away from other things. But it sounds like you were well prepared for that.
Yeah, 100%. It's so easy sometimes, like you said, to be like, oh, well, this is fun. Let's add this in. And then all of a sudden you're, forgot about the actual deliverables you need to do for your monthly clients, right? And like, that's really, really important. And if you're going to scale, keeping those monthly clients happy is really, really important still, but you still want to grow and scale your business. So it's like a catch-22 of figuring out how can you structure your days to make it make the most sense for you. And, what works for me might be different for you and might be different for someone else listening.
Okay. Since we're talking about the unexpected things, what are some unexpected challenges or maybe even benefits that you've encountered since you've launched your VIP day?
Challenges, so many challenges. Honestly, time blocking is probably one of the biggest ones. As someone who I suffer from ADHD, I'm a little bit like, I'm either all in or I'm like all out kind of thing. I really, really have to be structured in figuring out my time blocks and making sure everything gets completed, because there's days where I'm super hyper focused and then there's other days where I'm not. And so understanding who you are as a person and how you work as an agency owner is also really important, and something I learned a lot throughout integrating VIP days into my business is like really making sure that time block is there. And then also scaling and hiring is another big challenge I found, because again, like you said, as you introduce something new, it means your attention is being diverted from something else. And, you're eventually going to need an assistant. You're eventually going to need, an editor or maybe a social media manager or whatever it is in your agency. And so you think in your head, oh, I'll just hire someone. But there's a process that goes behind hiring as well that can also divert your time and attention. So many things that I've learned in incorporating something new in the agency is definitely time and definitely hiring. Those are probably the biggest ones.
So good. Again, we think, okay, we'll just solve this problem by doing this one thing over here, like hiring. Yeah. And then we forget the hiring in itself is a process, right? And that makes sense. So yes. So good. Okay. For agency owners that are considering adding a VIP day into the offering, what advice would you give them before they made this leap?
I think definitely plan it out ahead of time. Look at your calendar and really start to understand, how long does each thing that you're going to be doing in that VIP day, if that's how you're structuring your VIP day, going to take? Or if you're going to do it like I did, where you're asking your clients what they need, think to yourself, okay, what would the ideal client for this offer most likely be asking me to do? And then again, figure out how long does it actually take you to deliver on that, so that you can now commoditize your package and understand, okay, this package is going to take me 8 hours to fulfill. It's going to take me 10 hours to fulfill. And just by doing that, you might realize that everything you want to do for this client might not fit in an 8-hour time block, like I figured out through mistakes. And then you can decide, maybe my VIP day is a VIP week. Maybe it's a 3-day sprint. Maybe it's, something different. And then you will figure that out before launching it, and then figuring out in the messy. You can kind of do what I didn't do and plan it out ahead of time instead of learning from the mistakes throughout.
It's important to do an inventory of the things that you could provide for your VIP day and match that up to what people want, because obviously you can't sell a VIP day that people don't want, and be realistic about how long it takes to deliver something. Because I think being realistic about how long it takes to deliver something is where a lot of people get caught. We tend to think it takes a lot less time than it actually does. And then especially when it involves team, it's always going to take longer. And so those are key things to kind of flesh out in order just to make sure this VIP day or VIP week is profitable. Okay.
100%.
Do you see VIP days becoming a larger part of your agency's future, or are they more of a complement to your services?
I think that the VIP day, how I had it structured before, was definitely a complement to my monthly recurring revenue, because like we said, we all love monthly recurring revenue. It's stable. It's what helps us scale. So I definitely did see it as more of a complement. But now that I've pivoted it into the week, I definitely see it as more of a core offer, to be honest. And I see it more as a core offer in that it's an introductory core offer into the monthly recurring revenue, because I think that my audience is also shifting a little bit into the people who they want the roadmap, but they can also post it themselves. Maybe they have an editor on their team that can edit for them. So they don't necessarily need everything in the monthly package. But the way I've structured the week is that hopefully you come back to me every 3 months to get this completed for you. So it still is kind of a retainer, but a smaller retainer over less periods of time throughout the year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like I said, it feels like this fractional CMO, Chief Marketing Officer in video in your business once every 3 months. Totally makes sense to me in that way. I love it. Okay, I have 2 more questions here before we wrap up. The question that I haven't asked you yet, tell us about your agency journey. How did you get here?
I went to college for graphic communication. So my background's actually in graphic design, and I went into the corporate world after that. Was in there for 6.5 years, kind of did the whole climb the corporate ladder thing, ended up in a management position for a large trade show company, doing marketing, doing branding, doing sales. And I just was like, always had this craving to do something for myself, be an entrepreneur. I was definitely the kid that was like, had the lemonade stand, had the yard sale signs outside the house. And I was just fed up with the corporate world. And I was like, you know what? I think I can just go off and do this on my own. And so I started it actually as branding and social media. So I was doing websites and branding for different businesses. And I did that for about a year, and then kind of started seeing social media become more and more. And that was kind of in the time where like everyone was becoming a social media manager. And so I was like, you know what, I think I can do this social media manager thing. And so I kind of pivoted into that, was still doing branding. And then as I was being a social media manager, I noticed that clients kind of had the same problems. They needed to get leads and they didn't have content. And so I was like, okay, video seems to be something that's picking up more. Maybe I should just try out video. And I was like, let me try it on myself first and see if it works to get social media clients. And it did. I started on YouTube and was able to sell out my one-on-one services as a social media manager at a time from my YouTube leads alone. And I had less than 200 subscribers at the time. And so I was like, there's something here. This is something. I'm going to go all in on this. And so I kind of pivoted and like learned as much as I could about YouTube, started putting my own strategies and frameworks into place after testing them on myself, and then eventually just let go of social media management altogether and went full into YouTube and started the coaching side, ramped up the agency side, and that's where I am today.
It really speaks to the power of YouTube. And on that note, where can people find you if they're interested in all things YouTube?
Yeah, so I'm at Wonderment Creative on almost all social media platforms, but on Instagram, I am at the Melissa Mitchell. Just recently pivoted to personal brand. So definitely come message me over there. And on YouTube, it's Wonderment Creative.
We'll get that into the show notes. Thank you, Melissa. It was so amazing having you here today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was super fun.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with me at the Small But Mighty Agency podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you hit the follow or subscribe button in your podcast app and share it with a friend. I'll see you on the next one.